When my son told me I wasn't expected for Christmas, I didn't say a word. I just looked at him, standing in the doorway of the house I helped him buy, and waited to see if he'd flinch. He didn't. "Tessa's parents are coming," he said. "It's just easier if it's them this year." I nodded. Once. Steady. Behind him, the 12-foot tree twinkled in the corner. I recognized every ornament. I'd paid for most of them. Same with the leather couch, the chandelier, the new oven. "Maybe we can grab lunch next week," he added, like he was doing me a favor. I turned and walked back to my truck. Drove home in silence. That night, while the snow fell over Spokane, I poured a drink, opened my file cabinet, and pulled out 5 years of mortgage statements, all in my name. By midnight, I'd made one phone call. They forgot who signed the checks, so I stopped signing. And if you've ever been treated like a burden by the people you built everything for, stick around. You'll want to hear what I did next. I wasn't always this quiet. There was a time I used to fill a room. With laughter, with stories, with the sound of my boots coming through the door after a 12-hour shift. I worked construction for 38 years. Framing, drywall, roofing, you name it. I built homes for other families while living paycheck to paycheck just to keep mine together. When my wife, Lynn, passed away, everything changed. The house was quieter. The holidays were quieter. But my son, Drew, still needed me. Or at least I thought he did. When he got married, I was genuinely happy for him. Tessa seemed polished, ambitious, the kind of woman who made people take notice. I told myself she'd be good for him. They wanted a place of their own, something big enough for the future. I co-signed without hesitation, took out a line of credit against my house, wrote the down payment, and even covered the first year of mortgage payments while Drew was between jobs. "You're the reason we have a home," he said once, tearing up over dinner. I believed him, but gratitude has a short shelf life. It started small. Tessa redecorated everything. Said the old furniture wasn't aligned with their aesthetic. I offered to help paint. She said she'd hired a designer instead. Said it nicer than that, but the message was clear. I didn't fit the new image. Eventually, I stopped being invited to things. Not directly. It was always subtle. A text would come late, or not at all. I'd find out about birthday parties from Facebook photos. I told myself they were busy, that it wasn't personal. Then came the favors. Quiet, regular requests. Could I help cover the water bill just this once? Could I float them $1,200 for property taxes until Drew's bonus came in? Could I take care of the repairs to the furnace because the home warranty wasn't as comprehensive as we thought? I always said yes, even when I started skipping my own checkups to save money, even when my fridge was nearly empty, even when I found myself calculating how long I could stretch a can of soup, because I thought that's what fathers did. They provide, even when it hurts. And for a long time, I didn't let myself admit how much it did hurt. Not just the money, the distance, the way my name started fading from their lives like an old photograph no one bothers to frame. I remember one Thanksgiving, I brought a pecan pie, the same one Lynn used to make. Tessa smiled like it was a box of expired cereal, said Ethan was watching his sugar intake. He was 6. I sat on the edge of their fancy couch, knees aching, and listened to them plan a ski trip I wasn't invited to. That night, I drove home in the snow with the pie untouched on the passenger seat. Still, I kept paying, month after month, transfer after transfer, because somewhere deep down, I believed it would bring me closer to them. That money was the bridge, that maybe if I gave enough, I'd earn a seat back at the table. But bridges don't hold when only one person is laying the bricks. And that Christmas morning, when he said I wasn't expected, I finally understood. I'd built the house, but I was never really welcome inside. It was the Sunday before Christmas when I stopped by their house to drop off a gift for my grandson. I hadn't been invited to anything. Not the school play, not the tree decorating night, not even the Christmas Eve dinner. But I still wrapped up a set of model trains I found at the antique shop downtown, just like the one Drew used to play with when he was Ethan's age. I figured I'd leave it on the porch with a note. Quiet. No pressure. But the front door was wide open. Music was playing. Laughter spilled out into the driveway, so I knocked. Tessa answered, holding a glass of wine and wearing one of those sweaters that probably cost more than my whole grocery run. Her smile froze the moment she saw me. "Oh, Dennis, we weren't expecting anyone." "I won't stay," I said, lifting the wrapped box. "Just dropping this off for Ethan." Before she could answer, Ethan came running down the stairs. "Grandpa!" he yelled, nearly knocking me over with a hug. I held him close, the way I used to hold Drew. His hair smelled like peppermint shampoo. "What's that?" he asked, pointing at the package. "A surprise." For Christmas, Tessa cleared her throat. "Ethan, go back upstairs. Mommy will bring it to you later." He hesitated. I gave him a wink. He ran off. She stepped outside and shut the door behind her. "I wish you'd texted first," she said. "We're hosting a little gathering tonight, just a few close friends." "I saw the catering van out front," I replied. "Looks like more than a few." She didn't respond, just crossed her arms like she was bracing for a cold wind. "Tessa," I said, "I'm not here to make a scene. I dropped off a gift. That's it." "I know," she said. Then, after a pause, "It's just, things are different now, Dennis. We're in a different circle than we used to be. The people coming tonight are from Drew's firm, the school board, donors. And I'm not the right decoration for that kind of party," I said quietly. She blinked. "It's not personal." I almost laughed. She continued, "Look, your generosity over the years, we've always appreciated it. But that doesn't mean we're obligated to include you in everything." "I never asked to be included in everything," I said. "Just maybe." "Christmas." She didn't answer. Then she added, almost like an afterthought, "You know, my parents are very particular. They're not used to your kind of stories, or food, or background." There it was. The thing she'd always danced around finally said out loud. "My kind of background," I repeated. "You mean blue-collar, calloused hands, no degree on the wall." She smiled tightly. "You make it sound like a bad thing. I'm just being honest. Some environments require a certain polish." That word, Polish, like I was tarnished silver. I took a breath, nodded, and stepped back. "Thank you for the honesty," I said. "It's more than I usually get." She softened for a second, maybe sensing something shifting. "Dennis, don't take this the wrong way. You'll always be family." "No," I said, "I won't. I'll always be the man who kept the lights on. That's not the same." Then I handed her the gift, turned, and walked back to my truck. She didn't call after me. Back home, I sat at my kitchen table with a cold cup of coffee and stared at the wall for a long time. Not sad, not angry, just still. It was the kind of still that comes before a storm, because in that moment, I realized something very clearly. They didn't just exclude me from Christmas. They erased me. From their house, from their stories, from the family photo on the mantel. And if they were going to pretend I didn't exist, I could stop pretending I didn't mind. The next morning, I didn't wake up angry. I didn't toss or turn. I didn't curse anyone's name. I made my coffee, like always. Toasted 2 slices of sourdough. And while the kitchen filled with the smell of cinnamon butter, I pulled out the drawer where I kept the folder. It was an ugly, bulging thing. A manila folder stuffed with 5 years' worth of statements. Printouts from the bank, handwritten notes, receipts from Home Depot, emails confirming wire transfers. Every month, $2,600. Mortgage assistance, every quarter, $900. Property tax. Then came the one-time gifts, coded as support, but never repaid. $8,000 for their down payment, $5,200 for roof repairs, $3,000 for that designer couch Tessa said was non-negotiable. I didn't need a calculator. I'd memorized the numbers. $172,400. That's how much I'd poured into a house I wasn't welcome inside for Christmas. And still, somehow, they managed to act like I was lucky just to be acknowledged. I spread everything out on the dining table, like evidence at a trial. Each page, a footprint. Each line, a betrayal. By mid-morning, I'd made the first call, to the bank. The woman on the line was polite, efficient. Her voice didn't flinch when I said I wanted to cancel the automatic mortgage transfer. I just need the account number and some ID verification, sir. I read the numbers off, slowly. She clicked away at her keyboard. You've been making this transfer for 5 years. Yes, ma'am. Do you want to cancel effective immediately? No delays. Stop it today. Done. That was it. No fireworks. No thunderclap. Just one click. And for the first time in 5 years, I felt like I could breathe. After that, I got to work on the paper trail. I scanned everything, all the statements, all the confirmation emails, organized them by year, labeled each folder on a thumb drive. Then I started printing. Not for them, for me. Because if this went further, if they tried to twist the story, make it seem like I was the bitter old man who abandoned his family, I'd be ready. I even drafted a letter. Not to send. Not yet. But just to get the words right. You excluded me from your life. That was your choice. But you built that life with my money, my name, my labor. And now it's your turn to carry it alone. Simple. Final. Clean. By sundown, the table was clear again, except for one thing. A printed copy of the deed, showing my name, plain as day, on the original loan. Funny how quickly people forget whose name built the foundation. I poured a whiskey and stepped out onto the back porch. The cold air bit at my skin, but it felt good. Honest. Not like the fake warmth I'd been forcing for years. The neighborhood was quiet. A few houses down, a father was helping his son hang lights. I watched them for a long while, remembering when Drew used to hand me clothespins while I balanced on the ladder, trying not to fall. He used to look at me like I could do anything. Now he looked at me like I didn't belong. Well, if I didn't belong in the life I'd paid for, then neither did my money. Christmas Eve arrived with fresh snow on the ground and lights in every window, except mine. Across town, my son and his wife were hosting their annual elevated holiday gathering, the one that somehow included everyone except me. I knew the time. I'd seen the invite posted weeks earlier on Tessa's Instagram. 6 p.m., cocktail attire, catered meal, 12 guests. Perfect. At 6:15, I pulled up in front of their home. Cars lined the driveway. Laughter drifted out through the windows, warm and oblivious. I wore my best coat, the one Lynn bought me for our anniversary 20 years ago. In my hand, a leather folder, neatly packed with truth. I didn't knock. I walked in. No one noticed at first. They were all seated at the dining table, glasses raised, laughter mid-sentence. The chandelier sparkled above them. My grandson sat at the far end, poking at green beans. Tessa saw me first. Her smile vanished like steam on glass. "Dennis," I raised a hand. "Don't worry, I won't be long." Eyes turned. Forks froze. "I won't yell. I won't make a scene. I just came to drop off a few gifts." I placed one packet in front of each guest. Quiet, like setting placemats. Receipts, mortgage records, transfers, all of it. "What is this?" one woman asked. Tessa stood up. "He's confused. He's been under stress. Those are the payments I've made," I said calmly. "Every month, for 5 years, to cover the house you're all sitting in." Gasps. Pages flipping. One man squinted. "Is this real?" $172,400. It was real enough to buy every bottle of wine on that table, 100 times over. "I didn't come here for sympathy," I said. "I came because my name was erased from this family, so I decided to take it off the payments too." Cody, Tessa's father, cleared his throat. "I don't think this is the appropriate venue." "On the contrary," I replied. "This is exactly the right table. You all believed the story they told, that I was distant, unstable, out of touch. But none of you saw the account numbers." Tessa's voice sharpened. "You're embarrassing yourself." "No," I said. "I'm ending the performance. I've played the part of silent benefactor long enough." I turned to Drew. "You let them decide I wasn't welcome. You let them tell my grandson I didn't matter. You knew what I gave, and you said nothing." His face had gone pale. "I'm not asking for thanks," I added. "I'm reclaiming my dignity." The room was silent now, utterly still. I gave one small nod, like signing a contract. "Merry Christmas," I said. Then I walked out the same way I came in, calm, steady, leaving the door open behind me. Let the cold air in. Let the truth breathe. I didn't hear from anyone that night. Not Drew. Not Tessa. Not a single guest from that perfectly curated table. But the silence told me everything. The next morning, my voicemail was full. The first message was from Tessa. "How dare you ambush our dinner? You embarrassed us in front of people who matter. You've ruined Christmas for Ethan, for all of us." She never once used the word sorry. The second message was quieter. Drew. "Dad, I don't even know where to start. I didn't think you'd really... I never asked you to... Just call me back. Please." I didn't. By New Year's, the neighbors had started talking. It was subtle at first. A friend of mine from church ran into someone who'd been at the dinner. Said the whole room was stunned. Said Tessa cried in the bathroom for 20 minutes while her father tried to do damage control in the driveway. Good. For once, they were the ones scrambling to explain. 3 weeks later, the mortgage company sent the first warning notice. Late payment. Balance overdue. I hadn't touched their account in a month, and it showed. Tessa tried to call again. This time, it wasn't rage. It was panic. "We're going to lose the house if you don't restart the payments. Drew's been applying for new jobs, but nothing's come through yet. Ethan needs stability. You don't want him to suffer over this, do you?" That's when I blocked her number. I wasn't going to be manipulated with guilt wrapped in motherhood. And Drew. He kept texting. "Dad, can we just meet? 1 cup of coffee. I owe you an explanation." Maybe he did, but explanations don't pay back years of silence, and I was finally enjoying mine. In the quiet of my home, I replaced the flickering porch light I'd ignored for too long. Bought a new microwave. Painted the living room walls a soft gray, the color Lynn always liked. I even put up a small tree in the corner, just for me. It had 3 ornaments, one from our first Christmas as a couple, one Drew made in 2nd grade, and one I picked up last week at the thrift shop. It said, "Peace lives here." No flashing lights, no fancy garland, just peace. And for the first time in 5 years, I had enough of it to last through winter. I used to believe that sacrifice earned you a place at the table, that if you gave enough, time, money, pieces of yourself, the people you loved would save you a seat and look you in the eye with gratitude. But that's not always how it works. Sometimes you build the house, you buy the food, you keep the lights on, and they still ask you to leave before the guests arrive. What I've learned, far too late perhaps, is that respect can't be purchased. Not with mortgage payments, not with silence, not even with love. It has to be mutual. And when it isn't, you have the right to walk away. Not with shouting, not with vengeance, just with quiet certainty that you were never the one who failed. I didn't lose my family that Christmas. I lost the illusion that I was ever part of theirs. But in that loss, I found something better. I found space. Space to rest, to think, to spend money on myself without shame, to cook meals I actually want to eat, to sit by the window with a cup of coffee and no tension in the air, and most of all, to remember my wife without apologizing for how I grieve. Some people might hear my story and say I was cruel, that I should have kept giving, kept smiling, kept hoping. But I say this: forgiveness is free, but access has to be earned. And I'm no longer giving mine away. Not to people who treat me like a burden. Not to people who remember me only when the bills are due. Not to people who confuse quiet love for weakness. So if you've ever felt pushed aside by your own blood, let this be your reminder. You're allowed to take back your seat at the table, or build a new one somewhere else, one where the light is warm, the silence is soft, and the door only opens for those who knock with love.